Peace, y'all. It's your girl Nicole, Sister Midwife, coming at you real quick to talk about the ideas of productivity and service. So I was having a conversation recently, maybe about a week and a half ago, with one of my good friends who I feel like always has a really good way of helping me see the perspective that I need to see in that moment. Not saying that she's going to tell me what I want to hear, but she always has a really good way to help me reground and thoughtfully consider what the issue is at hand. So I called her a few weeks ago, maybe like I said, a week and a half ago, and I was saying and having a conversation with her about the notion of feeling unproductive. And so we began to have this really great conversation about what productivity is, who gets to define it, how is it defined, how do we measure or determine how valuable the productivity that we're doing is how valuable it is, who gets to decide what is productivity in the first place. And in the midst of this conversation, I began to realize that I was living in these two separate spaces. So on the one hand, I had grown up with the thought process of to whom much is given, not only is much expected, but much is required. And so I've always been, the things drilled into my head of excellence, moving forward, always working, succeeding, getting to be a millionaire, working hard. If you want what other people don't have, you have to be willing to do what other people won't do. And all of these notions of just on the treadmill, moving to achieve. And on the other hand, my soul and my spirit wants to slow down. And so I would struggle between this one side of me, rush, do, and this other side of slow down and feel. And so during the midst of this quarantine period, I have had an opportunity to be more in a slow down and feel kind of pace. And I got to be very honest, I like it and I appreciate it. So then the next thing that begins to creep up is this thing of, but am I doing enough? Am I serving the community enough? And so then I had to ask myself, this was without the conversation with my friend, I had to ask myself, what does it mean to serve? And for each and every one of us, service looks different and feels different. And I know for damn sure I serve and I do and I give. And so there is no judgment except the judgment that I give myself. And so I'm learning to release that. I am excited about making sure that the pace that I am learning to even slow down even more into becomes my new norm, because I have appreciated cooking with my daughter. We made a solar system the other day, last night, I think it was. We made a solar system last night. We have been hanging outside. I planted my garden finally, something that's been on my list of things to do for a really long time. Playing Uno and cards and hanging out with my daughter is critical, and I hadn't been making the time to do those things, constantly in the rat race, constantly feeling like if I didn't show up for this meeting or give my opinion for this thing, that I wasn't serving. So now I'm also acknowledging that I serve in the way that works for me, and that there is no one who does question how I serve. And even if they do, that's their business, because the only person who needs to be satisfied with how I serve is myself. And as long as I am serving in a way that I know feels good and justifies the work that I want to do for my community, then I'm serving. And as long as I am producing the relationship with my daughter, producing food, producing programs, producing webinars at whatever pace that may be, as long as I continue doing those things that I'm supposed to be standing up to do, and the only pace that I need to pay attention to is my pace, then I am also being productive. So I needed to come share this because I felt like somebody needed to hear some of this topic, and maybe this will resonate with somebody out there. But the reality is, productivity is your decision to determine what productivity means, and service, it is also your decision to determine what service is. And as I've been really moving into this place, the message has continued to repeat itself into my vision repeatedly over the past couple of weeks. So it's just affirming. And there was this Instagram post. This is why I got my notebook, because I wanted to make sure I read this from her IG is Jenny Jaffe. Anyway, this is what was written and credited to her. You're only unproductive by the standards of the world we lived in 2 months ago, and that world is gone now. I loved it. I was like, exactly. And even in that world, unproductive needed to be defined by me. I just allowed the outside world to define it. And service needed to be defined by me, and I allowed the outside world to define it. But I'm learning to let that go. It's still a process, still a work in progress, but it feels good. And if you are struggling in this space of, am I being productive enough, and am I serving enough and doing enough, know that you probably are, because the people who not quote productive, they're not even thinking about it. So the fact that you're contemplating these things, you are being productive enough. I think it's just that same type of concept of who defines what productivity is for us. So that said, I'm out of here. Hug yourself. Talk to you soon. Peace.